Welcome to Episode 6, Season 2 of The Dave Whitty Show. I'm your host, Dave Whitty. Folks, as always, this podcast is brought to you by Lamb's Rum. Lamb's is one of the top choices for Newfoundlanders who love the authentic, smooth taste. Enjoy Lamb's Palm Breeze today with a splash of Coke and lime wedge, or for something different, try Lamb's Spice on its own on the rocks. Lamb's is the best choice for hard-working Newfoundlanders, and at a great price, find Lamb's Rum at all of your local NLCs. This weekend, exclusively April 29th and 30th, save $2 on Lamb's Palm Breeze 750 milliliters, and also save $5 on Lamb's Spiced Rum 750 milliliters. Want to say big thanks to Lamb's for the sponsorship this season. They've been absolutely awesome to deal with. The crew at Lamb's and Corby's, they actually dropped me off this little care package here. If you're watching on YouTube, it is Malibu Strawberry Daiquiri. They are like ready to drink, so they're cans. They're ready to rock. They dropped me over a bunch of them the other day. I had a couple the other night. They're absolutely delicious, so wanted to give a little shout out to these as well. I'm pretty sure they're available now at the liquor store, NLC. So Malibu Strawberry Daiquiri, introducing Malibu Strawberry Daiquiri, a quality ready-to-drink signature cocktail inspired by Malibu's tropical and summertime flavors, made with natural flavors and Malibu's signature Caribbean coconut rum. Absolutely delicious, guys. 7% too, so great bang for the buck. They really hit you. They're awesome. Super yummy, super tasty. So big thanks to Lamb's and Corby's as well for the sponsorship this season. It's been a real treat dealing with you guys, and it's always really beneficial to me, of course, obviously. Thanks so much to everybody for tuning in again. Been a couple crazy weeks, lots to talk about today. Really excited to be on again today. Got a lot to talk about. Obviously got my new Rum Ragged hat on, thanks to my pal Mark Manning for hooking me up with that. You can always check out Mark and the gang. Obviously Rum Ragged, I think they got some new merch coming along the way, so make sure you do look out for that. I'm really happy with this hat, really comfy and really cool. Nice, love supporting local. I want to say big thanks to Mr. Brad Dunn for coming on last episode. Make sure you do check out his new book, The Merchant's Mansion. Support local guys, local authors, local people. It's awesome to see local people doing cool things. So go check out Brad Dunn. You can follow him on all his social media channels and check out what he's up to, and especially his latest release, The Merchant's Mansion. Got another really fun episode this week with my dear friend, Miss Sandra-Lee Layden, who is absolutely awesome. One of my favorite people on the planet. She is so cool, so down to earth. She's absolutely awesome at what she does. She's like one of these people who, when you meet her and you chat with her, you're instantly best friends with her. She just makes you feel so comfortable, and she's so sweet. And she's also absolutely incredible at what she does. She's a photographer. She does all sorts of different photography. I mean, her main passion is obviously music photography. She's just out on the road with JJ Wilde and the Glorious Sons. So we had a great chat. Loved catching up. Really, really cool, insightful chat into, what her career is, around and what she does, especially with the music photography, but also, we dug into weddings and her growing up in beautiful scenic Dildo, Newfoundland. So stick around later on for that little chat with Sandra. She was absolutely awesome. Had a real fun show April 14th at the Ship with my good pal Mike Bursey. I can't say enough good things about Mike. Love to get him on for a chat someday on the podcast, but I said this at the show that night. I kind of booked Mike to open up the show because I'm such a big fan of his. He is absolutely awesome. If you get a chance, hit up Spotify or Apple Music and look up Michael Bursey. He's got one album there, and he's an absolutely fantastic songwriter. I was hooked on these songs when they first got released, and then I played with them again there last week, and I'm heavy back into this album. I haven't stopped listening to it, so a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who came out to the Ship. Thanks, Vicky, for selling some merch for us, and thanks to all the crew at the Ship and Tony Murray as always, and thanks to all the fans that came out. I had a really fun night of playing my own tunes, which is exactly what I want to be doing. Got a really fun show coming up this Thursday, April 28th at the Rock House. Playing with my dear friend, Mr. Nick Earl. We're doing a duo set, and we're opening up for Matt Mays and Adam Baldwin. It's a fundraiser and a kind of celebration of life for Brad Caravan, who's a fellow from Mount Pearl who tragically died in a car accident a few weeks ago. So they're having a little get-together, and Matt Mays is playing. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're really excited to open up the show. And me and Nick are collectively going to be doing some of our own tunes together as a duo. So really, really looking forward to that. It's going to be a real fun night, and just a great celebration. And hopefully we can raise some serious funds for the family and help out the cause. That'll be great. Where am I to here? I had the list here. I want to talk about a couple festivals have been announced here in Newfoundland, and especially St. John's. I had one up here. What did I do with it? Let me get it here real quickly because I must have lost it. Performance. Sorry, everybody. Okay, so of course, today, being the 26th of April, Tuesday, I'm recording. This will be released tomorrow for you guys. The Newfoundland and Labrador Folk Festival, which happens every year in Bannerman Park. The festival has been announced. Really, really excited about that. It's always a great festival at Bannerman Park. It's always great to see a lot of folk music. And lineup looks pretty stacked again. The Once, Cuba Sonics, Matchless Men, Rose Cousins, Cecile Duking, Villages, Sherry Ryan Band, Swinging Bells, Twin Flames, Fretboard Journey, Anita Best and Pamela Morgan, Mama's Broke, Loma and Sound, Rosemary Lawton, Miscellanea Folk, Las Voyageurs, Andrew Kagumba, I hope I'm pronouncing that one right. Salt Beef Junkies, Adrian House, Rebecca Shar, and Natasha Blackwood, Jane Batstone, and of course a ton more. It's always a really, really fun festival right in the heart of St. John's and beautiful Bannerman Park. So the tickets, I'm sure they'll be up for sale pretty soon, if not already. You can always check them out at nlfolk.com. And a big shout out to the Folk Festival for pulling that off again this year. It's a great festival in the park, and it's always great to see some music. Right, like I mentioned, in beautiful Bannerman Park. Is absolutely fantastic. I think last week the Iceberg Alley performance tent is back up and running. Not sure. I don't think I mentioned it last episode, but I wanted to mention this episode now that all the performers have been announced. The Iceberg Alley performance tent is going down June 15th to June 25th, and that's at the Kitty Vitty, on the banks of Kitty Vitty, kind of down by the Legion there. They're putting it back where they had it previously to last year, obviously with the hurricane. I believe it's a new tent. Obviously it has to be because the last one got absolutely destroyed. So they moved it to a little earlier in the season this year. I think they're trying to avoid hurricane season, which makes a ton of sense, obviously. So the Iceberg Alley is one of the coolest events that happen here in Newfoundland. It's 10 days of music, all sorts of different genres, all sorts of different artists, and it's underneath this really cool kind of circus tent. It's not a huge spot, not a huge event, so it's not like, not 20,000 people. There's, probably 3,000, 2,500, 3,000 people there, and you get all sorts of different music, so that's really cool. So June 15th, City in Color, with support from Tim Baker and All Hands and Ife Alaba. June 16th, Alexis on Fire with support from Dirty Nil and Bucket Truck. That's really, really cool. June 17th, Burton Cummings and his band, David Wilcox and Billy and the Bruisers. June 18th, Theory of a Dead Man, Pop Evil and Sky Wallace. June 19th, Everlast presents Whitty Ford's House of Pain with Classified and Shad. June 20th is the Stone Temple Pilots with The Trues and The Warning. June 21st is Lord Huron with Donovan Woods and Quote the Raven. June 22nd, Tom Cochran, Chilliwack and Sash Jordan. June 23rd, the band Perry, the Roadhammers and Tyler Joe Miller. June 24th will be Kim Mitchell, Honeymoon Suite, and the Northern Pikes. And June 25th is the all-local night with Shanneyganock, the Irish Ascendants, the Ennis Sisters, the Navigators, the Celtic Connection, and Carolina East. So, lots of music in there for everybody who enjoys different types of genres and different types of things. There's something in there for everybody. Local nights and all that heavy stuff. There's country. It's going to be a great night. Like folk music. A great 10 days of music, and it's just such a neat festival. Really love the Iceberg Alley performance tent. If you're looking for tickets for there, you can always check out the website at icebergalleyconcerts.com. So a couple great festivals already lined up. Jorsey Festival hasn't been announced yet, but I'm sure there'll be lots more to come. So just really, really excited about lots of music happening in and around St. John's and around Newfoundland. So that's really, really exciting. That's just music. I'm going to dig into some sports here. I've been thinking about it all kind of morning here about what I was going to chat about, but there's just so much going on. To me, if you don't care about sports at all, skip the next 5 minutes because I got a lot to talk about with sports, but this is just the funnest time in of the year for sports. The end of the summer into the early fall is always a lot of fun as well, because you get the start of the football season, you get baseball playoffs, you get hockey and basketball starting back up. But this is such a fun time with basketball playoffs going on right now. Hockey playoffs just around the corner. It's really, really exciting. I want to start off locally first. The Newfoundland Growlers are in the first round of the Kelly's Cup. They won the first 2 games at home here in St. John's at the Mary Brown Center, and they are back in Trois-Rivières right now. They're playing tonight, so Tuesday. I'm not sure what'll happen, obviously, tonight. So, tomorrow when you get up, if you're listening to this, you'll know the outcome of the game. But Growlers are up 2-0 in the series, and Game 3 is going tonight, Tuesday, April 26th. In Trois-Rivières. So rooting for the Growlers. Had a couple of the guys on last year, and hopefully get some more on maybe after the season, get talk about this run. So best of luck to the Growlers pushing forward, and looking forward to seeing what happens there. In major sports, there's so much going on. I mean, like I mentioned with the NBA playoffs, let's dig into the NBA playoffs first. I mean, so the Raptors go into this first round series against the Philadelphia 76ers. Lose game 1, lose game 2 in Philly. Looks like Philly were just absolutely rolling. Game 3 comes back to Toronto, and the Raptors just lost. The series could have been totally different if they had managed to win that game by any chance. But they lost, and they were down 3-0. Game 4, different ball game. Raptors look like a different team. Game 5 goes Monday night, and this team looks different now. The Raptors look different. They look dialed in defensively. Philly looks tired. Joel Embiid's thumb is hurting. Harden doesn't look like the same person. So Fred VanVleet was out with a hip flexor. It looks like it's day-to-day. Nothing too serious, but he obviously didn't play. Scotty Barnes comes back in after getting injured, and man, I'm telling you, this has been exciting basketball. I'm really looking forward to Game 6 back in Toronto. It's going to be very exciting to watch. The Raptors have arguably the best home court advantage in the league, playing in Toronto with Jurassic Park outside. It's so much fun. So really rooting for the Raptors, hoping they can pull off this Game 6. If they can get through this Game 6, anything can happen in Game 7, especially with the way Philly have been playing. They look tired already. They look banged up. So, if we can pull this to a Game 7 back in Philly, Philly's fans were giving up on them already. So, if we can just pull this, maybe, just maybe, could be the first team to come back from a 3-0 deficit in the first round. So really looking forward to that game. I think the next game goes Thursday. I could be wrong on that. I'm not going to look it up. It's either Wednesday or Thursday back at Scotiabank in Toronto. So that's super exciting, and really been fun to watch, I got to say. The Leafs, as of today, they're playing tonight. They're playing Detroit. So the Leafs are 1 point away from securing home ice. Got beat up in Florida, lost one, won one. But, I mean, that's how it goes. That's how it's going to go. It was an interesting matchup against the Lightning. And Florida, with the comeback win, real gutsy effort there. Seen some reports today. Looks like Mrazek's back on the ice skating. Bunting got hurt a couple games ago. He looks like he's been back out skating. Andre Kasha looks like he's back skating. So hopefully we can get a healthy lineup going into the playoffs. I mean, every day I contemplate tweeting, I just need the Leafs to get out of the first round for my personal sanity. I cannot deal with anybody else using the rhetorical that get the Leafs out of the first round. I know they haven't been out of the first round, guys. I watch and live and breathe this team. It's been 18 years. I was in grade 11 the last time the Leafs won a playoff series. Grade 11. I mean, oh man, it's been frustrating, no doubt, but you stick with your team, and I feel confident in this group. I just hope that we can get the right matchup. I hate the way it's not 1 through 8, et cetera, but you can't really complain about that. That's how it's going to go. So got to stay healthy through these next few games. I just kind of almost wish that the end of these games were over now. I just hate to see anybody get injured, be an absolute disaster. But obviously tune into the Leafs. I think they got a couple more games left, and then we'll really figure out what's going to happen with the playoffs. So hopefully by next episode, we're chatting about the Leafs, maybe pushing their way through a first round. So we'll see what happens. The Jays have been so much fun. This team is the best. I love the Jays. They're so exciting to watch. It doesn't seem like any game they're out of. I mean, the bats have been on fire. Pitching's been decent. Starting rotation's been not bad. The bullpen has been absolutely lights out, which is super, super great to see. Alex Manoah, starting pitcher, he's an ace, man. He is such a stud. I love seeing Alex Manoah go out. Hyunjin Ryu looks like he's injured again. Not surprised there. Hoping he doesn't turn out to be the next R.A. Dickey. But obviously the Jays have been really fun. They're 11-6 right now as of Tuesday, obviously. Best record in the American League. So, obviously a ton of baseball left. Baseball's the longest, I mean, when it comes to the seasons. So many games to play in a regular season, but always great to have a Jays game on every night to watch, so that's really fun. That about does it for the sports segment. I mean, I figured I had to chat about that. I'm happy to get in a little bit of Iceberg Alley and the Folk Fest. I want you to stick around for a great interview I had with Sandra. She's absolutely awesome. She really digs into some cool things, and we're chatting mental health, and we're chatting what it was like to leave Newfoundland and to be out on the road and kind of get over COVID again now and get back out to doing what she loves. So I want to say a big shout out to Corby's and Lambs again. Make sure if you are interested in these bad boys, go pick them up. They are the Malibu strawberry daiquiris. They are damn tasty, guys. So make sure you pick up some of them. I feel like this is going to be the drink of the summer, no doubt. Sounds like, great drink to have in the golf bag, or if you're taking out a, nice day on the deck, you get the sun's coming down and it's feeling like one of those days. That might be the ideal drink for that. The Malibu strawberry daiquiris. So make sure you pick them up in the ready to drink cans. Other than that, guys, that about does it for me. So make sure you do stick around for a great chat with Miss Sandra-Lee Layden. And I'd like to welcome the lovely Sandra Layden to the podcast. What's going on, Sandra? Thanks so much for doing this today. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, no, it's great. I remember we were chatting a little bit about maybe coming on earlier this summer or last summer when I bumped into you on George Street. And we've been in contact ever since. I'm really happy you could take the time. I know you've been extremely busy. We were just chatting a little bit before we got going. You were saying you were just catching up on some sleep. You've had a busy couple of weeks, I think, right?
Yes, I just got off tour with JJ Wilde. She was opening for the Glorious Sons. We did an arena run through Quebec and Ontario. So that was incredible, but tiring.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to dig into that with you in a little bit. I got some questions I want to ask you beforehand, but happy to see you made it through that little run. I'm sure that was wild and probably great to get back out and doing some fun things again, I guess.
It's been amazing seeing like 7,000 people screaming again and just having that sense of normalcy back, even if the panini is still going on.
The panini, I seen that on you. I seen that on your Instagram today, and I was like, "What the hell is panini?" And I was like, "Oh my god, this is so dumb." I love it.
That's it. I'm tired of calling it a pandemic, so it's now a panini.
The COVID panini, yeah, nice.
The COVID panini.
The COVID,
yeah. No, it was really incredible just being, and even outside of the tour, just going back to live music up here in Toronto. We were locked down a little bit longer, so just being back in that scene and having that has just been like life-giving.
Speaking of, you said COVID. I mean, I die at that alone. That is hilarious. Is that that's just in Newfoundland, right?
That is, I have not heard it outside of Newfoundland.
No, okay. That's what makes it so funny.
Right? My dad's like, "You got the COVID or what?"
Like, why? Like, I die at that, man. That is so classic Newfoundland. Like, why drop the D and just add a C and a K or whatever? Anyways, that's so funny.
I love it.
Speaking of Newfoundland, I mean, I kind of wanted to start off, especially with this episode. I mean, I want to kind of talk about you growing up and kind of what you got you interested in photography and kind of what you got you started as your main career. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic what you've done over the years. I mean, we've been friends a long time, Sandra. We've done a lot of work together over the years. I mean, since I started playing music, I mean, you've been taking photos of me and different elements and on stage and band promo shots and all that stuff. So, I mean, I've even seen you when I've been on stage, you rip in with a wedding sometimes. I mean, I think I was playing a Kitty Viddy a couple of years ago. Yeah. You ripped in with a wedding. I banged out a quick John Mayer. You were psyched. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was all good. So, you grew up in Dildo, Newfoundland, right? Is what
yes.
You were right in Dildo? Yeah, okay. Because I mean, I'm obviously very familiar with that area now. I mean, I spend a lot of time out in that area with the cabin in Greens Harbor. It's it's fucking the best, man. I love it. It's like the most peaceful place. I mean, it was probably a little different growing up there as opposed to somebody
Yeah.
like myself who gets to spend my weekends out there or whatever and get out and relax. But I mean, growing up, what was that kind of like for yourself as a person who is like yourself, who loves being out and loves live music, loves people and all that stuff? Like, what was that kind of like growing up in beautiful, scenic Dildo, Newfoundland?
It was great. I've been going to live shows since I've been in June. Like I was 13, maybe 14. The first time I started going to live shows, I would pay people to bring me to Carboneer so I could see all the Carboneer boys play. I would go to the Blue Whale. We would be at the Shearstown Lions Club. Like anywhere there was live music, I made the biggest attempt to go to it. It's always been part of my life. Like it's Dildo is a lot different now than it was then. There's we have an Indian food restaurant in Dildo now.
And it's so good, by the way.
Good. I love it.
Good.
Yeah,
quick little shout out to Yes Buys out in Dildo, Newfoundland. Is that what it is? Yes Buys, right? Or Yes Buy, I think. Yes, and it is so good, man. They kill it out there. Little tiny spot. You can get great Indian food, and that's amazing for that area. I mean, you probably would have never expected that growing up out there.
No, absolutely not. And the brewery was a museum when I grew up, and like even now, like the little restaurant down in the corner, like that was a little shop. Like all this has changed so much since growing up there. So there's so much more now for kids growing up than when I did. But I found I hung out with people who were very into music. Even like I spent most of my time outside of Dildo once I became a teenager. A lot of the music happened across the bay or in St. John. So we would do Blue Whale shows, but we would still spend a lot of our times in Bay Roberts and stuff. I dated a guy who was a bass player all through high school, and he was in a band. It was always in my blood to be in this. And I always had a camera in my hands, whether it was a Kodak Easy Share or something from Walmart. It was always part of me growing up. So it's really cool to see that expanding a little bit more at home now, especially with the brewery having live music coming constantly. Like that wasn't a thing. If you wanted live music, you would get the one-offs here and there at the SUF, but it's incredible seeing the change that's coming back there.
One of the craziest things I find about that area is that obviously the brewery has attributed to so much success in that area and so much movement, so much activity that's happening. I mean, what they've done out there has been absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm a big fan of the brewery. We spend a lot of time out there, and I get out there and I play it quite often out there, and the group there is fantastic. All the staff is super friendly, and I mean the grub is fantastic, and but they're really like the first people to market Dildo, right?
Yeah, it was actually, if you go back far enough, my uncle tried to get the name changed. There's a whole article about it.
Okay, cool.
Some people were ashamed of the name, and
they
were the first people to be like, come to the Dildo Brewery. And people, we'd be down in St. John's, and I'd see someone with a Dildo shirt on, and I'm like, oh, you went to the brewery? And they're like, no, I just saw this shirt at the store over there, and I bought it, and I thought it was cool. And now there's a little store, like mom and pop shop just up the road from my parents. There's Dildo dogs. There's like Jimmy Kimmel has a big dildo sign in the hills that matches Hollywood. I love it. I was always proud of being from there. The name was hilarious. And it was something that when I started working in the music industry, people would be like, she's from Dildo. And it differentiated me from so many other photographers. We're a dime a dozen. And even though my work is good, sometimes I blend it in, but they'd be like, oh, that's Sandra, she's from Dildo. So I always had a sense of pride. I like some of the kids I went to high school with would say they were from New Harbor. I'm like, no, you're not. You're in front of the sign. You're from Dildo. Don't be lying.
That's funny. Crazy. Yeah. I guess now people are probably it's probably the opposite. I mean, just with how much has changed out there and the amount of activity, like you say, and the amount of people out there. So, I mean, growing up in Dildo, obviously you were out checking out shows. You're a big fan of music. I know you still are, obviously. And so, when did you start putting the camera in the hand? Like, it was just something that kind of naturally happened, and then did you progress into something that you thought maybe I could probably actually do something with this, or was it a hobby at the beginning, or did you always kind of dream of doing something with the camera?
I had a camera in my hand as long as I can remember. Like, I remember I used to take pictures of the posters on my wall and like hide the flash so I can be like, oh, I took this picture of Nick Carter. And then it was always something I really wanted to do. I was always the girl at the shows with the camera. Me and my friend Krista Cram, I would just steal her camera and like be like, oh, I'm taking pictures now. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like my high school yearbook said I wanted to be a wife. Like, and it wasn't until I was 20 and I was living in Gander with my boyfriend, who's my current husband, Conrad, and his dad had a really great camera, and I would just take it out. And eventually I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I don't want to just steal someone else's camera or shoot on a shitty camera. I kind of want to be a photographer. Like, it makes me happy. And I never felt like I belonged anywhere. I always felt like kind of on the outside. Like I never wanted to go to university. I wanted to be a cook, but I didn't want to cook for people, so that wouldn't work out for anybody. And then it started to make sense to me. So I went to Academy Canada. I learned nothing, and then I graduated and I learned everything. Nothing against Academy Canada, but in photography, until you're in the field, you don't really get the grasp of how to do everything. So I was probably 20 when I was like, this is what I want to do. This is who I am. And just started. I just went with it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you just made. I mean, I feel like that's such a part of the arts. I mean, photography, music, dancing. I mean, whatever you're into in that sense. I mean, you learn from the field. I mean, you can learn so much from school, you can learn from books, but until you actually get into the actual action, I mean, that's where you're going to learn, right? Until you get hired by somebody, when you have to, you have to, somebody's paying you for a product that you have to come through with it. I mean, that's where you really learn how to do these things so much, right?
Absolutely. I remember I was doing a test, and we had to write out exactly how we would set up flashes and stuff. And I just burst into tears and went up to my instructor and I was like, I can't explain this to you, but I can show it to you. And I went out and I showed him how to do it. I could not form words on how to do it. I could just do it. It wasn't on paper. I couldn't do it, but when I was in the real world, I was like, this is what I can do. And I busted ass right through school. And one of the first gigs I had was working for the Herald.
That's incredible. Yeah. So, I mean, you were in Newfoundland obviously you grew up in Newfoundland and you spent quite a bit of time kind of bombing around. I mean, you're doing all kinds of different photography, which we will definitely talk about. But at one point, you and your husband decided to move to Toronto. What was the kind of reasoning behind that? And how did that play out? And was it an easy transition or was it tough or?
It was hard. I've always come to Toronto for the bigger festivals, for one-offs. And a lot of my friends that I have here now were touring musicians or tour managers or managers that would bring their bands to Newfoundland. And I would do the one-off shows, got to know them, and I would get hired for the Newfoundland shows. And they would always say, I wish you were in Toronto. I'd love to put you on the rest of it. Or I wish you were, it wasn't cost effective for them to have me come to Toronto unless I bit the bullet and did it myself. My good friend Matt Wells hooked me up with an amazing gig with the Much Music Video Awards. And I worked for them for 9 years. And that was kind of like this is where I want to be. I want to be in the center of it. And as much as I love Newfoundland and I love shooting the local musicians, you know yourself, like when they do cross Canada tours, we're always left out. We're always kind of like left behind. So I always appreciated the people that came to Newfoundland. And I always appreciated that I was able to shoot them. So, a few years ago, I lost one of my high school best friends. He took his life, and it kind of made me realize that I was just sitting there running in a hamster wheel, I wasn't going anywhere else from what I was doing. And Conrad, my husband, works in film, and the film industry in Newfoundland is phenomenal, but there is always a downtime. So we both were like, in the end, up here is where the music industry kind of lives in Canada, and the film industry, along with Vancouver, kind of lives in Canada. So we kind of bit the bullet and moved up here. And as much as I miss home, I'm home a lot, as you know, because we always run into each other on George Street. It's been an incredible experience for my career. It's definitely helped it take it to the next level. I'm doing all the people that always said they would hire me if I was in Toronto actually came through and did. So it's been an incredible journey doing this. It's hard being away from all my friends and my family and all the musicians that supported me through the times, like you, Adam Baxter, like those type of people always had my back from the beginning. But being up here just expanded those options just a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, I guess the beauty of kind of the nature of the business that you're in is that it's not like you work an and an office job where you only get 2 weeks vacation. I mean, not to say that when you come home as a vacation, but you can come home and work. I mean, you do that quite frequently,
Yeah.
especially in the summertime. So that's great. You get to come home and see your family and your friends. So it probably doesn't feel so isolated as if you were maybe working like you say, an office job or something where you only had 2 weeks vacation, where you probably wanted to spend a week with your family in Toronto, and then you probably got a week to come home, bust your ass. You got to see everybody in 5-7 days. You know what
Yeah.
it's like coming home for Christmas holidays or something. It's just a blur,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. It's been great being able to, I still have my client base. The clients I had before I left are still my clients. And every day I'm so thankful that they're like ride or dies. They write me in January and they're like, when are you coming home? And I can come home and take enough work that it's cost effective for me to be there. But I still am able to see my friends and family. I get to do the Iceberg Festival every year. Shout out to them. They're so amazing. They always help me. I get to do George Street Festival every year. It's kind of the best of both worlds, and I know how lucky I am to be able to have that option, because there are people that move away who can't go home. Flying to Newfoundland is not cheap. So I'm very lucky to be able to do that, and it kind of makes that pain a little less of being away from home.
Yeah, and it's like it's always nice that you can come home and actually get paid to do that as well. I mean, you
Yeah.
come home and work. It's kind of a working vacay. We get to come home the nicest time of the year. You don't have to deal with the shit weather. Well, I mean, who knows what it could be like? I mean, but generally it's supposed to be nice that time of year, which is obviously the way you want it to be, right? Sandra, I was digging down through your website. I mean, your website's beautiful, by the way. It's really, really great
Thank you.
job. It's really, really creative. I love everything about it. And I was, kind of digging into some of the stuff that you offer, the services you provide, and all the different things that you do. Let's just talk about that a little bit. I mean, what are some of the things that obviously everybody can go check out your website. I'm sure they will once they listen to this, but kind of coming from you, like, what are some of the services that you provide as a photographer? What are some of the different, things that you do? Obviously you do music, and I know there's lifestyle, which is really cool. I kind of want to talk about that a little bit separately, because that was something unique that I had seen that I'd not quite seen before, but let's just talk about a little bit. Obviously you do weddings and all that stuff.
Yeah, I started when I got out of school. The music industry, as much as I love it, sometimes the up and comers don't have the budgets to sustain a whole life with me. So I had to pick up doing weddings. And in the beginning, I was doing 30 or 40 a year. And it kind of felt like I was selling my soul a little bit. Like, my heart was always in shooting music. So I kind of slowed down on the weddings. I love doing them. I love my wedding clients so much, and I never regret doing any of them. So that was kind of my, like, for 10 years straight, I was doing 30, 40 weddings a year. And I kind of felt like I was burning out. I give a lot of myself to someone. I do suffer from mental illness, which we can absolutely talk about. And I found, like, there's a spoon theory where each day you wake up, you have so many spoons. And I found at weddings, I had to give spoons for 3 days straight to somebody else. So I started to slow down on doing those and started focusing more on the lifestyle, portraits, and the music side. And it's been amazing. I still do weddings. I probably do about 10 a year. This year's a little bit more because we had 2 years where no one got married, and they were like, hey, 2022, let's everyone get married all at once. And I love doing them. And luckily, I kind of talk to my clients a lot before I book with them. I'm not the kind of photographer that's like, hey, give me your money, I'll shoot your wedding. I want clients to vibe with me. I want them to be like, this is my girl. I'm going to feel comfortable with her. I can drop my pants and pull my dress up, and I won't even, right? I don't.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you have all that stuff on your website. It's so, I love the way you've got it all written on your website. It's like, I'll be your nan's best friend, and like, it's awesome, man. It's so good. Yeah.
Well, the amount of grandmas that bring me a glass of wine at a wedding is unreal. And that's what I love about my clients. Like, your photographer shouldn't get drunk, but if you're sitting down for supper and your nan gives them a glass of wine, you're sitting and have a chat. Like, you need to have that vibe that you feel like they're your best friend. And I always joke that my weddings are a way of me interviewing for my friendships. And so many of my wedding clients now have become really good friends of mine, because come the day of, weddings are so long. They're 12, 14-hour days, 10-hour days. And you're with me more than you're with your bridesmaids, your family. I am there. I'm your shadow. So you need to be comfortable enough to turn around and be like, Sandra, I don't want to do this anymore. Or, hey, Sandra, can you go get me a straw and a bottle of Prosecco? Like, I just need to hide in the bathroom right now. I want people to be that comfortable with me at their wedding. So I found by bringing the number of weddings I did down, I used to do like 3 a weekend. It was too much. And kind of like just interviewing them a little bit more before we got together and I agreed to shoot the wedding, or like more so they agreed to hire me. I get clients that are way more on my level with like silliness and more relaxed and chill and really love music, love traveling. Like we have a lot of things in common. So the day of, I'm just a best friend that's there that you kind of paid to be there. I'm a best friend for hire. It takes really nice photos.
It's interesting. You said, you mentioned you were doing so many weddings that you burnt out. I mean, like I can relate to that because like photography is your business. It's also your passion. Isn't it interesting how people like you and I, like I do a lot of pub gigs, we'll say in St. John's, where I don't even really promote them. I don't even really tell anybody I'm playing them. I get hired by a place and I'll go play. You play 3 hours, you're playing Newfoundland shit or whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, you know what I mean? But those burn me out so bad, like so bad. Like after a summer of doing those, I'm like mentally fried. Like I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's so interesting because people kind of look at, you're doing what you love. It's like, but it's not, there's so many different elements to what you love. I mean, yes, I'm playing music and I feel very grateful for doing that. And I'm sure you are as well. You're taking photographs, you're at weddings and you're making money, you're making a living, but it's not the ideal path on what you want to be set out on. And that's what burns you out, is that all you're doing is you're thinking about what you really want to be doing. And it's hard to focus on those things. So I think by, like what you said, stepping back a little bit and really opening your eyes to who you want to be actually taking photographs of at weddings and who you actually want to deal with, and maybe doing less, is so much better for your mental health.
It is absolutely. Like I kept hitting dark spots, and coming out of it, it made me realize that I was just doing too much. I was giving too much of myself to people. And I was doing something that I loved, but it was too much. I wasn't able to be as creative as I wanted to be. I was constantly going, okay, well, we need this picture. We need this picture. I have to do this. I have to do this. And now I'm so much happier going into these weddings. I'm not leaving, like, I'm not crying in the shower before I go. I'm not popping an Ativan and hoping for the best. Like it is, I always see people who like talk about doing like all these pub gigs and doing all these weddings and doing all this stuff. And when I talk to them outside of it, they're burnt out, they're tired, they're a little like depressed because it's not the path they want to choose. And by limiting the stuff that makes you not unhappy, but limiting the stuff that takes a lot from you and focusing on the stuff that you want to do and the stuff that makes you happy, you really have a different outlook on life. And it really changes. It brings the love back to you for the job you're doing.
One thing that I would be willing to bet that a lot of people probably have no idea is how much work actually goes into shooting a wedding and what goes on behind the scenes and what goes on after the wedding. Like, I'd be willing to bet there's so many people, I'm sure you've dealt with people like this. Probably you have way better an idea of this than I do, but I'd be willing to bet people think you just show up with a smile on your face and take your little pictures and put them on the internet and send them off. Like, can you talk a little bit about like the actual process of what goes on? I mean, for actually shooting a wedding and what goes on the days after. I mean, you edit every single individual photo. I mean, there's so much work. I mean, a lot of times, like, that's what you're getting paid for. I mean, you're getting paid for like the hours and hours that you're putting into your actual product, right?
Absolutely. Like the wedding day it's like an iceberg. The wedding day is what you see. And then the rest of it is underneath. Like I leave a wedding, I come home, I back it up 3 different times to 2 different clouds and a RAID system so that I don't lose anything. And then comes the sneak peeks, the editing, the culling. So culling is like if I take 7,000 photos, I go through and delete the ones where everyone's face is screwed up or they're slightly out of focus or they don't look good and bring them down to, the 1,500 I'll deliver. And then I edit those. And then sometimes there's a pole that looks weird in the photo. If it's not added to the photo, I'll remove it. And when I was doing 30 to 40 weddings, like that was a lot. I didn't leave my house. I didn't no one saw me. Everyone's like, oh, it's summer. We won't see Sandra till October. And it was devastating. I didn't enjoy the summers anymore. And in the last year, 2 years, I hired an editor. I still do the final touches on my weddings. And it went from me doing 20 hours of work for every single wedding outside of the wedding itself to only having to do the culling and the final touches to make sure that it looks like my work. They do the things that like they color correct. So if it's slightly overexposed or slightly underexposed, they fix that for me. And that has helped with my love of it a little bit more. It's helped with like my mental wellness. It's taken a lot of relief off of me because the hardest work is the work that comes afterwards. And people are like, oh, how come you deliver a wedding in 8 to 12 weeks? And they don't understand that if I'm doing a wedding every week. I'm doing portraits, I'm doing music. Like, I'm not, as much as I want people to feel like their wedding is the only thing I have to do, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to try to prioritize how I'm going to do things.
It's a fine balance. You know, it's like a tightrope kind of, I'm sure, chatting with people and trying to explain that to them in the most positive, professional way without telling them to really fuck off. I bet. Like, I mean, it's got to be tough, like, no doubt. Because, I mean, especially with weddings. I mean, I've worked a lot of weddings myself. I get hired to play weddings all the time, and generally, I mean, people are it's a tough job, man. I mean, people are anxiety's high, stress is high because it's a big day and everyone wants to make sure it goes smoothly. So that makes it tough for sure, right?
Yeah, everyone's on edge. They want to make sure that, like, and a lot of people have had bad, like, they'll have like, oh, my brother's photographer.
Can you hear my dog barking right now?
No.
Okay, good.
A lot of people who get married, they're like, oh, well, my brother's photographer took a year to get the photos. My sister-in-law their photographer lost everything. So there's always like a little bit of edge. Like, even the wedding, I can hear now. Even the wedding I did on Saturday, the dad came up and was like, so these won't take a year, right? And I'm like, no, I'll send you a sneak peek on Monday. Like, you're gonna see all like 10% of these photos Monday, and then it's gonna be about 2 months till you see the rest. And there was a sense of relief in that way. Everyone's emotions are running high on a wedding day. I always joke that I'm not just a photographer. I am a psychiatrist. I am a therapist. I am like a counselor, because I have to like maintain everyone's expectations. But luckily with my clients, I'm very open with them. And that's why I do like the pre-interview so much, is I set those expectations and I say, hey, I'm going to give you a sneak peek 2 days after your wedding, but it could take 2 to 3 months for the rest of the photos. But when you get them, you're not even going to realize that it took that long, because your sneak peek is going to be so good. And that's taken me the 14 years I've been doing this to kind of get that pattern down and learn how to set the expectations. And that's the one thing I can recommend to anybody getting into it, is set the expectations right away. Tell them it's going to take 3 months and deliver in 2 months. Because if you set the expectation is going to take 3 months and you deliver in 2, they're like, hell yeah, this was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But before I did that, it would be like the day of the 3 months I was trying to deliver. And it was so stressful.
I know I mentioned it just a little while ago, but another real cool thing that I seen on your website is lifestyle photography. I mean, this is not something I've ever seen before or anyone kind of advertise. Maybe they have. Maybe I'm just not up in the scene. I don't know, but I mean, what a cool thing to offer and provide. Let's talk about that a little bit and what that is exactly.
Lifestyle photography is my absolute favorite. It's a little bit different. It's not quite documentary. It's not quite posed. It's me coming in and doing a snapshot of a family's day condensed. So I always say, what's your favorite thing to do on a Saturday? No one's working. You and the kids are hanging out. What do you want to do? Do you love going to the park? Do you love baking cookies? Do you have a jam session? And we kind of play it around that. So I'll show up. Like, one of my favorite sessions, we made pancakes, and I showed up and we just made pancakes all day. And the kids then they showed me their instruments and we ran around in the backyard and I just chase them around. Now I'll be like, hey, jump over in mom's arms real quick. So that's why it's called lifestyle, because it's not so much, it's not exactly documentary where I'm a fly on the wall. I am for the most part, but I do give a little bit more direction to it. But I love that so much more than sitting in the park and smiling at the camera, just because it captures the kids' personalities. They get so comfortable with me. My fridge is full of hockey cards signed by my clients' kids, because I show them, they're like, Sandra's here. This is amazing. Like, I want the kids to be excited when I show up, and I'll get the best out of them, instead of being like, oh my gosh, I have to sit on this background. This is horrible. And what made me make the change is I was doing a shoot and it was on a background, and the kid did not want to touch the baby that was there. And he ripped my background down. And I was like, no, this is torture for the parents, for me and the children. Why are we doing this? So now I just show up. I love showing up on a morning where they're just like getting ready for breakfast and pouring bowls of cereal, or the kids are jumping on the couch, or just silly things that the parents see every single day and can't quite capture on their own. And I want to come in and get that for them. It's literally a snapshot into the moments in their life, instead of just that posed family portrait where everyone's smiling, because not everyone's always smiling. Like, some of my favorite photos are the kids crying because they bumped their knee and the mom's consoling them. Or like one of my best friends, Kate, her kid fell down and bumped her knee, and my favorite shot is she's sitting on the counter and Kate's kissing her knee. It's just such a sweet little moment, but that wouldn't happen if we were sat in a studio with studio lights, or if we were in the park trying to like get the nice lighting under a tree. It's so special. And it's honestly, I love doing that so much. I've started focusing more and more on that. Once I lowered the number of weddings I was doing, I started pushing my lifestyle more and more. And it gives me so much joy. Like when I walk in, the kids smiles, when I get the hockey cards that are signed, when like the kids are like, mommy, did she send the pictures? Did she send the pictures? Like it's so joyous to be part of that.
I mean, it's really interesting too, because ideally what it does is it makes everybody feel probably a little more comfortable, because they're not out of their natural element. They're into what they're actually doing. Like you say, they're getting up, they're making pancakes on a Saturday morning. That's probably something that they're used to doing. You know what I mean? So, and then once, I mean, you're such a sweet person anyways, I'm sure you make them feel so comfortable. It's essentially like you are a fly on the wall with a little guided direction, which is pretty neat and impressive. I thought that was really, really cool. And great to see. I mean, just something really unique to offer. And I bet you people love those memories. I mean, I remember reading on your website, it was, it was essentially like, these are memories that you will actually remember. You'll remember getting up and having those pancakes in that morning, not showing up to the studio, like you said, which is all fine and dandy too. Don't get me wrong, whatever people are into, but this is such a cool service to provide, right?
There's always a time and a place for the posed portrait. Like that's a classic that's never going to go out of style. Like at home, we have Sarah Stosky that just absolutely nails those portraits. And that's what I'm like, there's a time and a place for it. And everyone deserves that nice portrait, especially the older, like the parents love those. But I find our generation now, because we grew up with being sat in front of a camera and told to tilt their head and put their hand here, we're more like, can we not do that? Can we make a pizza? Can we go to Piatto and sit down and like just have pasta and pizzas? And it's so like there is a shift in the dynamic, because our generation's coming up a little bit more and we're more like just casual. And even in the weddings, the weddings have shifted. It's not so much like regimented, like 6 hours of photos. The dinner's here, the ceremony's here. Everything is kind of flowing. Everyone's so different. We're all embracing everything. And that's 100% like this generation that's coming up and the one behind us.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and it's so neat to see that kind of switch, and it's nice to see people kind of relax a bit and just kind of, be actually themselves, which is great. Like you say, I mean, you look at old photographs, like especially weddings and stuff, and everyone's very stern, and it's like this. Everybody has the same kind of photo, you know what I mean? So it's nice to do that. Oh my God, I'm gonna kill my dog. You got to give me one second.
Yeah, go right ahead. Let's take a picture.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Lizzie, you got it. Here we go. Here's
Liz. Oh my God.
For anybody who is maybe just listening to the audio here, normally she's pretty good, but the mailman must be outside. So anyways, that's hilarious. Liz, you'll be good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the tour you just got off. I mean, obviously, as we mentioned, music photography is your real passion. I mean, that's what you love, and you're absolutely fantastic at it. You really managed to capture so many beautiful shots. I've obviously been lucky enough to be on the other end of it, and it's always great. I mean, it's so this tour you were just on, you were out with JJ Wilde, who's opening for Glorious Sons, little arena tour, a couple weeks. Let's talk about some of the activities and some of the stuff that you're actually, you're on the books for, what you're actually hired to do, and some, the day-to-day activities that you're into.
Absolutely. It's a lot more than just taking photos, especially these days. I'm kind of a jack of all trades on these tours. I run her social media. I help make TikToks, Instagrams, Facebook posts. I do photos, I do videos. And then at the end of the day, while everyone else is trying to have fun, I'm there sat down editing. So like post for her, post the videos. It's a lot more than 10 years ago. When you were a touring photographer 10 years ago, you took photos. That's what you did. And now there's so much more. There's so much social media. There's engagement you have to have with the fans. It's
crazy.
So as much as I respond to things, I don't respond to anybody without talking to my clients. So with JJ, I'd be like, oh, we got this message. What do you want to say? And it helps them take that load off of living on the internet.
Oh my God, yes.
Part, like, yourself when it's a lot of social media. It's promotion, and it can burn you out. So that is part of my job, but the biggest part is photos. And now I just started doing videos for them. So it's usually what we do is we wake up. If you want to run of the day, we'll wake up, lobby call, is anywhere from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. depending on where we have the drive. We get in the van, we show up to the venue, the band and the tour manager loads in, and then I usually go with JJ or Jill to the hotel. I do a bunch of social media stuff. We show up, we sound check usually around 4. Sound check runs till 5. Then we have catering, which this tour was amazing.
Nice.
Shout out to all the catering people on this tour. It was phenomenal.
That's a lovely added bonus for sure.
Oh, it was delicious. Then we chill out. As we're chilling out, I'm posting photos from sound check. I'm posting TikToks of her being foolish. And it's a lot more than just like posting, because you have to be creative, and especially as she's a female rocker, and it's harder to enter in the scene for her. So we're pushing the socials a little bit more, and I had to push a little bit more with everyone. And thankfully, like her and her band and her tour manager, who's from Newfoundland Growlers, Labrador, Justin Waddleton, they were all phenomenal with working with me on this and having to be like, hey guys, I need this content. After the sound check and after I post some more stuff, then she hits the stage. She's on stage for 40 minutes. Once she's off, I'm posting stuff from when she's on stage. And then luckily we're able to catch some of the glorious sunsets. They're so great to her. It's like a touring family. There's some bands that you work with when you're the opener that you don't talk to. They stick to their dressing room, and you're just the opener. You kind of stick to yours. With the Suns, it was never like that. We were family. We were all one big family. Everyone hung out. We all like joked. We all had the same sense of humor, and it works. Like when you're on a tour and you're stuck with people in a van, or you're stuck with people on a tour bus, you kind of have to not have a normal sense of humor. Yeah, you got to roll with the punches a little bit. So the days are really busy, and they can be exhausting, and it can get a little much. Everyone's like, oh, I hope you had fun on your road trip. I'm like, it wasn't a road trip. It was a tour. And I worked. I'm like, I worked like 12-hour days, if not more than 12-hour days, from the time I woke up to the time I slept. It was what do I post? When do I post it? How do I help with her engagement? What's trending on TikTok, so that we can get on that train. And for some musicians, that's not their steez. But for this day and age, you kind of got to post your reels. You got to post the videos on TikTok. You got to post stories. So it was a lot of that on top of photos and videos.
Yeah, it's so much work, man. I mean, the social media game is wild in itself. Like, I mean, people do not realize how much, and it matters so much. I mean, for like grants and like everything that comes with it, like it all matters what comes down to your social media game, man. It's nuts.
You have like with grants, they're like, how many followers do you have? What's their engagement? What's the best, like what was your highest, like go to your insights, like what was your highest views? It's a lot of that. So it is a lot of pumping things out. And I feel for musicians like yourself who have to constantly, on top of being creative and perform, have to in a way kind of like dance monkey dance for social media so that people can see that. But it really does help with engagement. Like the engagement we got from socials was absolutely amazing. The Spotify listens like quadrupled because we were just constantly posting. I mean, she was opening for like an incredibly wonderful, large Canadian band, but we got so much good feedback from just showing her silly side instead of just being like, here's a video of her on the road. It was literally like her eating a cheeseburger with like a Trailer Park Boys sound over it. It was just trying to, you have to show that you're a real person. And that's the thing with social media. The fans want to know that you're a real person, that you're not just some performer on stage. They want to connect with you in some way, which is why it's so important for me and for her to connect with the fans. And she's always wants to write them and thank them and repost their photos and videos. Like some musicians aren't into posting the live stuff because, you know, the sound isn't always that great. But for her, she was like, post every video, post everything. She did a meet and greet every single night. So that was another thing that was on my list. As soon as she got off stage, we had 10 minutes and then we would go and do a meet and greet with all the fans, which is a little nerve-wracking. But it went over so well. So many people came up for the very first time, had heard her, and it blew me away, the response we got. So it was really rewarding, and I absolutely loved doing it. But I did, like I said, I slept for a good 2 days straight.
No, that's so dope, and I'm sure you're so psyched just to get back out. I mean, that's awesome. What's on the schedule coming up here? I know you'll be home for Iceberg. Are you coming home for Iceberg?
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
We head to Europe, so I'm going to Europe with her in 2 weeks. She's going to be opening for the Scorpions.
Cool.
I know it's good. It's the crazy gig. So we're over there for a week, and then I come home. And then I come home for Iceberg. So I come home on the 15th and do a little bit of Iceberg. I have an amazing wedding while I'm home as well. And then as soon as I'm done that, I meet up with them and we do the West Coast. And we go the middle of June right till the beginning of July, doing all across the West Coast into BC. So there's no rest for the wicked.
That's so sweet. That's so fun. That's awesome. I mean, I mean, especially after the last couple of years. I mean, it's probably a lot initially, but I'm sure once you get back into the swing of things, it kind of just
Yeah.
starts feeling great again. What has COVID been like for you? I mean, that must have been so challenging as a photographer because you need people to shoot. I mean, I know you mentioned a little bit earlier about, hiring an editor and to help you out with some of the stuff. I mean, has a lot of people I talk to, especially on the podcast here, like, weirdly enough, people have found like some type of relief in COVID. Like they've been like, it's kind of opened their eyes in a sense, like been like, okay, maybe they were doing something. Like for me personally, I felt like I was doing way too many shitty gigs that I didn't like. But I
Yeah.
was like, in my mind, I was like, oh man, I got to make sure I make money. I got to make sure I'm getting paid. I got to make sure that I got my bills paid. Then I'm like, all right, I got to take a step back from this because I'm mentally burned out. I'm like
Yeah.
absolutely at the end of it here. You know what I mean? And it's like almost to the point where I'm like, I almost want to just give it all up, but I'm like, you got to look the other way. So like, how has that been for you? Has it opened your eyes to anything else? Has it kind of let you see some other part of it that you might have, wanted or has it just been just brutal?
It was hard not working. Like I worked for 12 years straight and didn't have time off ever. There was no holidays. I worked all through summers. My time off consisted of maybe like me and Conrad running away for a week somewhere. But during COVID, I had nothing to do. So it made me absolutely realize what I wanted to set my heart to. So when things started coming back, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to finish these weddings and then I'm going to go back to just doing a couple a year and focus on music because that's where my heart is. And the thing up here, like it was a little more open in Newfoundland, but we kept getting shut. I'm in like Toronto, so we kept getting shut down. So we'd get back into it. The shows would start again. We were all COVID testing and wearing our masks, and then boom, it shut down again, and boom, it shut down again. So there was like depression did hit. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? What if this is our life now? What if live music just comes and goes for the next 10 years? It was really stressful, but taking the time off was neat because it 100% helped me put things in perspective over what I needed to do and how I can do it. And I'm so grateful everything's back. Like it's life changing to be able to be back in the scene and back into doing things. And I don't know if I could go back to not working again. It was nice watching every single thing on the internet and TV. And
Yeah.
I am now
I finished the
expert in
internet. I'd like wake up and be like, I finished the internet today.
right. You're scrolling and Reddit is like, no, you're done now. This is the end. TikTok tells you to get off like 3 different times. I'm like, I'm not done with you yet. So it's nice to not just sit and be doom scrolling constantly. But that time off really helped me put things in perspective on what I wanted to do and what I like. You have nothing to do, so you're like, when I go back, what do I want to do? Do I want to go head first and like be stressed out again, or do I want to go back and be happy? And it really, really changed. Like our generation experienced something that hasn't happened in 100 years.
Yeah,
Our people
no doubt.
like it definitely has changed. Like people who were working downtown Toronto who like lived in tiny condos, they're now living out in the country in big houses because they're like, no, this is not what I wanted. Like being out here is fun. So I loved that part of it. I hate it. Like obviously it's a pandemic, but the perspective that it's given to me and the relief it provided in changing my mindset on how much I had to work was much appreciated.
Well, it gave people like you and me, people who don't have regular vacations or time off, actual time to sit down. I was like, what the fuck am I doing with my time here, man? I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like literally sitting here for 2 months. Like, I mean, I haven't sat here for 2 days, like up to that point, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's crazy the break and it was different out here. I mean, you know yourself. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
COVID was like, it was like here, and then all of a sudden it was gone for like 4 months and like non-existent, like absolutely no COVID. So it was just like free for all, and then boom, shut down again. So yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough back and forth, and it also sucks getting COVID. There's no joke about
No.
this bug, man. I mean, I was took out for several days. I mean, really, really tough stuff. So I mean, hopefully we're on the back end of it, but who fucking knows, Sandra? Like, it's crazy.
No one knows. And I'm just, every time I shoot a show, I kept getting emotional on this tour, and just being like, being back at it, being like, it could be taken away from you at any moment. And that's the thing. The other perspective gave me is we were so comfortable in everything we were doing. We thought like the world was ours. And then it literally was taken, the rug was pulled out from under us. So I kept getting emotional, being like this is back, but I don't know how long we have it for. So I need to embrace it and experience it and be so grateful. And I'm so grateful. Like, I don't like the hugging every single person that's ever supported. I get emotional thinking about it, like hugging everyone that's ever supported me. I'm like, thank you for this. Like, I have a sense of appreciation for every single person I've ever worked with, who's ever given me a job and who's still supporting me to this day, because we couldn't do anything for 2 years, and now we're back.
Yeah, we are definitely somewhat back anyways. We're happy to hear that. I mean, there's live shows, you're doing arena shows. I mean, that means there's definitely people back. Liz is still here. I had to pick her up. Hello, Liz.
Hello, Liz.
This is awesome, Sandra. Thanks so much for doing this. Where can everybody find Sandra? If they want to book Sandra, if they want to see Sandra's work, where can we find you to?
Okay, on Instagram. I have 2 different Instagrams. The one I post all my music and travel stuff on is Front Row Lady. I'm always front row, and it comes from a local band back in the day. You may remember Queen's Maid. They had a song named Front Row Lady, and I loved it. And I was like, this is so cool. I'm always front row. So I bought the website, I bought the Instagram. It's all mine. So that's my music Instagram. I have a music website. I've separated everything because I just want the two to, like, my weddings don't want to see my music work sometimes. So, and then Sandra-Lee Layden.com is all my music, photography, and my travel stuff. Then if you want to book me for weddings or lifestyles, you can find it at Sandra-Lee Photo on Instagram or sandralee.ca website. I find keeping it separate helps keep my clients happy.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think that's really smart. Yeah.
But I am a little bit more active on the Front Row Lady one, because that's, again, music's my love. Traveling is my love. It's where my heart is. So as much as I love doing the weddings and lifestyles, I find it's more of my personal account. It's, you want to get a taste of how strange I am, you pop over to Front Row Lady.
And you're back for Iceberg. Is that when next time you're back in Newfoundland?
Yeah, I'm back for Iceberg. I get in on the 15th. I'm gonna be working with Bucket Truck.
Yeah, dope.
I'm
That's
really
so sweet.
excited about that one.
How long are you in town? Do you know?
10 days.
So you're in the 15th?
I get in the 15th, and I think I leave. Actually, no, we just changed it because I have the tour. I think I'm only there for a week now. Okay. I'm going to miss Donovan Woods, and I'm a little devastated about it.
Man, one of my favorites. Literally, I love Donovan Woods so much. Man, he played
so
George
incredible.
Street Festival, and like George Street Festival it's a different beast to play because it's George Street. It's just drunk Newfoundlanders who just want to rage and listen to patio lanterns. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Donovan Woods played. Have you seen him live before?
Yeah, I was at the George Street show.
Okay, nice. Yeah, like I've seen him. I've seen him a couple times now. What I loved about Donovan Woods so much is that his songs are so emotional and they're so deep and cathartic, and I mean, they really they attach to you. And then he's just like the funniest dude ever on stage. Like he is just ripping jokes the whole time. Like it's so good. It's such a really, really great show. So I'm looking forward to that. Well, hopefully we can catch up maybe when you're around and grab a beer if you got some free time, or I'm sure I'll definitely see you at the Iceberg. I've been doing this segment on the podcast this season where we do a little rapid fire questions. It's all just a bit of fun. I mean, just kind of get to know you a little bit outside of what you actually do and just to have a few laughs with. So I got 9 or 10 questions done up. You okay with that? You want to rock with the rapid fire?
Let's rock
all right.
It. Yes.
All right. So when I ran into you summertime, your friend, I was trying to remember her name. Your friend who owns the ice cream shop in Joy in Green Tower, which we did go over and get ice cream after. It's really, really awesome. Yeah, it's right next to my spot, actually. So first question is, what is Sandra's favorite type of ice cream? Oh,
I'm going to go with Hoof Prince. I'm actually not allowed to eat ice cream because I'm lactose intolerant, but I do anyways. So I'm going to say Hoof Prince.
Hoof Prince. Nice. Right? What a pick.
But If you go to Joy's Spot in Greens Harbor, it's right on the water. They do an affogato, which is the espresso poured over the ice cream. So it doesn't even matter what ice cream is in it. That is my absolute favorite ice cream treat. But I'm gonna say hoof prints.
Cool. Second question: what is one band or artist that would be a dream for you to photograph?
John Mayer.
John Mayer. I should have just had the answer written down next to it.
You knew this.
I know. Nobody else does. We're just learning about you.
That's it.
What's your favorite community to visit in Newfoundland?
Port Rexton.
Oh man, Port Rexton rules. So lovely out that area. Yeah. I love it so much out there. What is Sandra's favorite John Mayer song?
Oh, Walt Grace.
Nice. Oh yes, we always talk about this because it's such an obscure pick. Walt Grace's Last Submarine Ride, 1979, isn't it?
1967.
1967. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I used to play that forever, but that's such a weird song. It's such a good song.
It doesn't. It's just so weird. I relate to it a lot. I relate to the lyrics and stuff. And then I'm gonna have to do a second because it's tied. I'm gonna do Gravity live Where the Light Is.
Okay, cool.
Live in Los Angeles. So those two, and then one more, In the Blood.
Oh man, I love In the Blood too, man.
In the Blood, right? Okay.
That record rules. That's such a good record. What I love about John Mayer so much, obviously, we could probably sit an hour and talk about John Mayer because we both love John Mayer so much. But John Mayer's records are always so cool because they're always so different, but they always sound like John Mayer. Like it's like he puts out like a country album, but it's John Mayer. Then it's like super pop, and it's like John Mayer. Then it's like a folky bluegrass. It's like, what is John Mayer? It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, that's the real talent to be able to do that, to be able to write so many different kind of genres, subgenres, and really be able to still sound like yourself. That's obviously that's why he's John Mayer. Okay, next question. What was your favorite cartoon as a child?
Oh my God. Probably The Simpsons.
Simpsons rules. I mean, standard, classic. Like you gotta.
I'm like, I've been watching The Simpsons since I was way too young to be watching it. So.
Yeah, exactly. My buddy across the road, his parents wouldn't let him watch The Simpsons, so he just watched it at my house all the time. My parents didn't give a shit.
No, mine neither.
Next question. What I thought this one was hilarious. So, a few weeks ago, I was interviewing somebody, and I just Googled like random question generator, like just something like this. So I wrote down some of the funny ones that I could just kind of have as a little list, but I thought this one was so hilarious. I should just ask everybody this one because it's so funny.
Yes.
What's your favorite carb? Bread, pasta, rice, or potatoes?
Oh my God, potatoes. Oh, this is a shout out to JJ Wilde. This is a shout out to Jill. That girl knows how much I love potatoes. There was a moment on tour where the whole day all I ate was French fries, mashed potatoes, or potato chips. Like, yes. Give me potatoes. I am Irish through and through. I am a potato lover.
Yeah. I think I'd have to. Although I'm a big bread guy too. I eat a lot of bread. I'm a sucker for homemade bread and bagels and shit like that. I'm
Nan's homemade bread though, like it depends. If Nan offered me
Pitcher's Bakery,
bread,
man, Pitcher's Bakery white bread, so good, man. Classic. Every time. Yeah. Okay, next question. What is your favorite restaurant in St. John's?
Adelaide Oyster House, tied with Piatto.
Nice. Both absolutely fantastic spots. Love Piatto, and I also love Adelaide. I mean, great vibe there, great grub, great drinks. And Piatto is just so fucking good.
Piatto makes you feel like they're family. Like Piatto, I will admit that it is my best friend that her family owns it, but I've always joked that if they wronged me as people, I would still go there, but I would eat back on because it's that good. Like it is. You can't go wrong there, and they're just the staff, the food, everything is just. This is now an ad for Piatto Pizzeria.
Shout out to the Piatto lunch special too, by the way, which is the best bang for your buck in the city. By the way, you're getting a pizza salad? And it's like I love the goat cheese or the goat cheese and beet salad. Mm-hmm. Don't do me like that, man. So good.
And their Caesar. Did you know their Caesar is actually the same recipe that Brian, their dad, has been making since they were kids?
Yeah, that's really neat. That's so cool. I love that. All right, next question. Tea or coffee?
Cold brew coffee.
Cold brew coffee. Okay, right on. I just seen Guinness is coming out with a Guinness cold brew coffee, which is pretty neat. I would also love to cook with it. I think it would be like great in like a stew or like something like
a
that.
stroganoff or something.
Oh man, that would be good. Cold brew coffee. Okay, right on. 2 more questions to go. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
Would you rather be on the beach or would you rather be in the mountains?
In the mountains.
That's a tough one, man. Like I
I
love the
know.
mountains. I love the beach.
I love being near water. Like when I'm home, I'll like go grab a kitty bitty brew and just sit by the water and be like, okay, this is amazing. But just the air in the mountains and just being in awe of the fact that like this is just nature. Like this is birds. Like this is literally like this is birds. Like beaches I can understand. Your mountains are like this is things that to combine. So yeah, mountains.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, like, there'd be plates. Yeah.
So sweet. All right, last question. And I find like this question here probably defines somebody in the most hilarious way ever.
Okay.
On your phone, do you have like 10,000 email notifications, or are you a normal person and check and delete every one?
I will show you. I actually have 6,586 emails. I have 89 text messages.
6,838 emails.
Oh, we're the same. I have so many. All my friends are like, look at all the red dots. Like, why don't I'm like, and same with like text messages. If I don't like, you can see it on the screen. So why am I opening it if I don't need to?
This has been a real treat, Sandra. So much. Thank you so much. I mean, I know you're super busy and you got a lot going on, but I really, really appreciate you taking time to do this for me today and having a chat. And it's been great to catch up. Honestly, we haven't had a good conversation like this in a long time. So it was really, really fun. Thank you so much.
It's honestly an honor. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of you for doing this. Every time I see you post anything, I'm like, that's Dave Whitty. You see me running to the bars with all my friends. I'm like, Dave Slayer! Like John Mayer, please, John Mayer. I love your music. I love absolutely everything. I got some T-shirts in there that we bought during the panini, and I'm so proud of you for doing this, and it honestly is an absolute honor. I remember we were talking about it earlier, and it's amazing what you're doing and interviewing everyone and just being so open about everything. So thank you so much for having me on here.
Oh, I really appreciate that, Sandra. I'm blushing here. I'm blushing. You got me a little red, you got me a little rosy in the cheeks here. No, thanks so much. And look forward to catching up with you when you're back on the island here, and good luck with everything going forward. And we'll catch up with you soon. Okay.
All right. Thanks so much, man.
All right. Cheers. Chat soon.
Cheers.
Huge thanks to Sandra for coming on. Love that chat. Love her. She is absolutely awesome. Looking forward to catching up with her when she's back in Newfoundland over the summer, shooting all these fun festivals I was chatting about at the beginning of the episode. So that was really, really great. Love checking out. And make sure you go check out Sandra's work. I mean, check out her Instagram and check out her website. I love her website. She nailed it on the website. And her Instagram and stuff is really, really cool. Lots of great shots of all these different crazy artists that she's after photographing, and I love the chat about like the lifestyle photography. I thought that was such a creative angle to take in photography. That's who she is, though. She absolutely rules. So make sure you do check out Sandra and check her out online. That about does it for me, guys. Big shout out to my sponsor Lambs for doing this again. Hopefully we can keep this great partnership going forward, and love working with you guys. And thanks for the Malibu strawberry daiquiris. Yay. Looking forward to this show Thursday night at the Rock House with my pal Nick Earl, opening up for Matt Mays and Adam Baldwin. That about does it for me, guys. Thanks so much to everybody who's tuned in. Appreciate if you've been listening this far. Really, really love you. And follow me on all my social media channels. You can find me obviously at Dave Whitty on Instagram and on Twitter, and Dave Whitty Music on Facebook. And really appreciate it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I mean, that makes the world of a difference, and hopefully I can start making some money off of that one of these days. So thanks everybody who's been tuning in from downtown St. John's, Newfoundland. I'm Dave Whitty. Peace.